Well, hello everyone, and I am extremely excited to be here with you all. And here we are, 1 o'clock every Thursday. I think this must be our 25th show, something like that, Kim Adele? I think we are.
Yeah, I think we're on 26.
Yeah, 26. Well, there you are. And I'm really excited today to introduce you to Mindy Gibbins-Klein. You can follow her on Mindy GK on Twitter. And I've known Mindy for a long, long time, so I'm going to introduce you to her very soon. But first of all, we always like to do our little catch up with one another and share our week a wee bit and see whether or not any of you resonate with this. So I'm going to come to you, Sam. How's your week been?
Hello. Yeah, it's been very good. It's lovely to be back. Sorry, I missed you all last week. It felt really strange on a Thursday at 1 o'clock not to be here. So it's great to be back. The week, I think the word for the week is opportune or opportunity, because it just seems that new opportunities are surrounding everybody in business at the moment, which is wonderful to listen to and experience. I just think that the end is near, the sight is there, we can all visualize it, feel it, see it, and it's time to move on and just grasp those new opportunities. So brilliant week. Yeah, thanks very much. Oh, you're on mute, Penny Lovely. You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, you're right. These green shoots that we're all feeling, and it does help when we see a bit of sunshine as well, doesn't it? And Kim Adele, what about yourself?
Yeah, it's been a great week. Thank you. It's been, I've had some amazing opportunities, one of which, as you know, was yesterday. You did me the privilege of allowing me onto your clubhouse and met some really, really amazing people like Mindy, and had some great conversations. And I think that kind of sums up my week, really. It seems to be a week of really great conversations and connecting with people. And I think spring's here, isn't it? And you get that spring in your step. You can't help but smile when the sun's out. So yeah. I guess I'm in a sunshiny mood.
Oh, it's interesting. If we all looked back over the 25 shows, people would see the energy flowing, wouldn't it? Because on these shows, we so want to be real and speak it as it is, because we know there's nothing more annoying than watching something like this and thinking, oh, I've got really low energy and they seem to be upbeat. What's wrong with me? So I love it, but it is good. And I hope anybody that was watching this feels the same way. And I know every day and every moment can't be perfect. I know that. We all know that. But it's nice if overall you can start feeling that positive air. And talking about positive air in our lives, Carol Ann, what about yourself? What's your week been like?
I am like a deodorant. I am the positive air beneath your wings, or armpits, if you like. Sorry. I'm feeling quite lifted and air under my wing-ish. I went for a picnic on a park bench with my brother and my uncle, 2 separate days. Where there's a will, there's a party, you know me. And I've asked a lot of my clients and in my newsletter this week to people to get ready for the end of lockdown, to ask themselves a cunningly simple question. But it actually, of all the coaching questions I ever ask people, which sometimes I really come up with some absolute universal humdingers, the simple one is, what do you want? What do you want from your life after this all comes up again? And, you know, people really struggle to answer that. What they say next is, oh, I can tell you what I don't want. And then they do the doom scrolling of, and I don't want this, and I don't want that, and I don't want the other. So I put it out there for everyone today. Really start thinking, what do you want from your life after lockdown? What do you want to be different? What have you learned from it? And what do you want going forward? And I think that's such a simple question, but people do struggle. But once you know what you want, you're more likely to get it. So that's what my tip of the week is.
I love that. You know what I always love? We always love about you, Carol Ann. Now, Carol Ann, for anybody that doesn't know, is a life coach, owns a life coaching academy. And you so walk your talk, because you always start off with the fact that you are a human being, not just a businesswoman. You know, you talk about the things you've done. You have this balance in your life where you have some fun and you go out on your picnics. And whenever I hear it, I think, God, I need Carol Ann in my pocket. I need you I need you to shake me up, wake me up every morning, because I love that. It really is about the whole you with you, isn't it, Carol Ann? It's so fantastic.
Thank you for calling me human. I was the last time I looked, but I'm not always sure I am.
Well, you are. You're very human. We're all human. We are. Might not feel it sometimes. So, Mindy, before I introduce you properly, just to warm up the room here, and anybody that's watching it, what's your week been like? Have you had a good week?
This week, well, I'm in the middle of a crazy week, possibly my busiest week in the past 12 months, and it's been building. I haven't been able to do much except work. My family is either in Yorkshire or the US, or Nottingham, or not here where I live. So we've really had a little bubble, and with the book business, people have just they've been writing and publishing books, and because of the uncertainty, the whole year I've tried to say yes to everything, because you never know if it's all going to come to a grinding halt. And it's just gone mad this week. I'm trying. It's our wedding anniversary tomorrow, and I've had to squeeze that in amongst all the speaking engagements and all the client work and all, business book judging, and it's nonstop. And I'm having most of tomorrow afternoon and evening off.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that, and good for your marriage as well, to have a little bit of time on your anniversary. I've had a really enjoyable week. I felt that sort of spring. I'm not saying it's not been without some annoyances and some things where I've had to take myself a bit out of my comfort zone, but I have enjoyed it. I got some flowers delivered today by a client that I referred some business to him, and which was the nice thing about it is the business that I referred to him through someone, it was a speaking gig, has actually paid his whole year of being one of my clients, and I like that. That's nice, isn't it? When they get the money back. So I was really happy. Anyway, I got this beautiful bunch of flowers, and I was talking to the florist on the doorstep, who I know really well, and he has had the best year ever. He's a small florist in Farnham. He's done £500,000 this year in flowers. And as I was unpacking my beautiful flowers, I was saying to Thomas, isn't that a reflection on how gorgeous the world is, actually? Because there must be this beautiful energy where we're all sending out. I know I've sent a lot of flowers this year, where we're just sending out our love. And I thought it was a really nice, positive sort of story around how people are being during this pandemic, but also how some businesses, like your business, Mindy, are really thriving in this pandemic period. So very exciting. So I'm going to come to you now, Mindy, because I am just so excited, and I'm going to sound very personal about this because, well, I always believe business is personal anyway. I've known Mindy for, I would say, coming on to 20 years, near to 20 years. And, there aren't that many people we meet in business that we still feel really close to. Mindy's just an exceptional woman, as well as a businesswoman, as well as a mum, and as well as a wife. But, she just inspires me all the time. And she also inspires me by the way she treats people. So before I get on to what her expertise is, I just want you to know how much I love Mindy and what an amazingly exceptional lady she is. So now I'm going to do the more formal bit, because that's about who she is. And I'll do this sort of what she does and the shiny side here of her life. So, and this is all genuine. This is not made up to make her sound amazing. So Mindy is a multi-award winning international speaker, so speaks all over the world. And she's a thought leadership strategist. So many of you listening to this might have thoughts, and do you lead them? And do you have the strength of voice to do that? She's a book coach and a publisher, and actually coached me and published my latest book, so that's very special. Authored and co-authored 10 books, in fact now 11, we've just heard, is launching 2 books this week, which is very exciting, and has presented and coached to over 50,000 business executives and entrepreneurs in 18 countries, and always consistently wants to help people to have that voice. How do they have it? How do they present themselves, and how do they get their books out of themselves? So her sort of nickname is the Book Midwife, and it's a brand, it's a company name as well as having Panoma, the publishing business. And can you believe this? This is my last bit of excitement, is Mindy has had nearly 1 million views of her TEDx talk. There is not many of us that can say that. So I'm really excited to have Mindy here today. And today we are going to talk really about this whole thought leadership, books and stuff like that. So I think I'll kick it off with a question here. And And I remember the moment that you shifted to talk about thoughtful leadership. I thought that was very powerful. And you do a conference every year on that, which I'm really privileged to come along to. And how does that resonate? And has anything to do with that mindfulness thing that we also hear as well?
Well, I think many people have heard of thought leadership, and the term was not really well known when I brought out 24 Karat Bold, which was my first book on thought leadership. But I was really keen to see good people get great books out there and become thought leaders, but it's not a given. And unfortunately, some people get given the label thought leader when there's not as much substance as some of my clients. So that's what started the journey 12 years ago. But then I began to see people using the term everywhere, indiscriminately, just, he's a thought leader, she's a thought leader, and worst of all, I'm a thought leader, which is so cringy. Please, guys, don't ever say that. Not the panel, I mean, like people watching, don't say that. Wait for the market to call you one, but you don't have to just wait for the market to call you one. So I just thought, what is it people are missing? And one day in a conversation, as you do, I just said to a friend, they call it thought leadership, but the thought's missing. And that was it. And I said, well, it should be thoughtful. And so obviously thoughtful leadership is what people think, thoughtful, or I've put thought into it, or both. And that's what I wanted to do. So that's why the brand, The Thoughtful Leader, has kind of taken off more than some of my other brands. Because you mentioned mindfulness. Mindfulness is the first step. Mindfulness is, living in awareness. And somebody who's really living in awareness or being mindful could realize that perhaps they're not acting or behaving or putting out content that really reflects well on them. And is, so then comes the thought and the care. Do I really care about this interaction or this person? Do I care about my reputation? You wonder with some people. And then if you do, then you can put the thought in. So it's the heart and the head. I got it wrong. I realized in The Thoughtful Leader, it says how to use your head and your heart. And I'm going to have to change it because it's your heart and then your head. But that's what it is. You're muted.
Muted again.
I was just going to say, Mindy, I wish people did use their heart more than their head. And it's two different languages, the logical language and the heart language. And even the gut has its own language.
Yes.
But I really do wish people would listen to their heart a lot more. Thank you for saying that.
Very true, very true. And so this subject, because I remember you way back, and you started to get into publishing, and you were coaching. There was a trigger point. There must have been something that made you think, I'm going to particularly focus on the niche of helping people who have got some phenomenal thoughts that they could share. What was that? What was that shift for you that made you think that?
I was at a conference in the US, I won't say which one, and somebody was introduced on the stage, and I won't say who. And he was introduced as one of America's top thought leaders. And my thought was, I've never heard of him. And I just started asking questions, because that's where we start. Carol Ann, everybody who's a coach, Kim Adele, Sam, and Penny. We need to stop when we have a thought and ask ourselves some questions. Do I want to do anything with this? I'm busy. Do I actually have any spare capacity to look into this and create? And I decided I had to, because I work with words and language, and I just thought, no, we mustn't just throw labels and terms around. Let me figure out what are the criteria of being a thought leader. And guess what? There were none. There were no metrics. There were no rules of the game. And so, because I'm a creator, I created some, and that was 24 Karat Bold. That's the real thought leaders methodology, where, okay, it was one way to look at it, REAL, 4 things you can do, and 4 levers, and if you're doing these things well, then the market should call you a thought leader. And I was happy with that. But it was was in response to or a reaction to something that I thought was not right. And I live my life this way. When I see stuff that doesn't feel right to me, I just go inside and say, okay, what can I do? What am I willing to do? And how can I bring my little bit of value to it?
Yeah, you are. You're very intuitive, but you're very sensitive, and I mean that. I don't mean that. My mum used to say you're far too sensitive, and I just think, oh, why is that negative? But when I say you're very sensitive, I mean that as a really positive trait of yours. To the online world, aren't you? You really notice how people behave, don't you? That must be very important for you when you're bringing in an author, I imagine.
I notice, as we all notice, and then I aim to be thoughtful, and I aim to do this process really quickly, because if you take 3 days and then you go back to someone and you say, you seem depressed, well, they've bounced out of it by then, So you have to kind of quickly do something with it or not. It's a choice. Mm-hmm. So my brand of thoughtful leadership is having the intuition. We can't really control the perceptions and the things that come to us, but then running it through some kind of process, like I was just talking about. Do I care enough to do something with this? Can I fit this in? Or is it one of these things where I must press pause on everything else because this is too important? And that's what the thoughtful leader does. I love that so much. And this is perfect because the online world, well, it's very dynamic and it's current and kind of minute by minute. So yes, thank you for noticing that. I really aim to do that.
Sam, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Mindy, that we all know how relevant this is in business, both corporates and SME. But why do you think it's so important? What's your biggest push for getting thought leadership into business?
Thanks, Sam. It's not everybody who aspires to have the profile and be a thought leader. And that's why thoughtful leadership is important, because I think everybody has the capacity and really the responsibility to act thoughtfully in both senses of the word. So when we bring that into business, we aren't going to see so much bullying and all the horrible things that can go on in business. I'm not saying they always do, but all of these behaviors that stem from someone being stressed out and taking it out on someone else, they can be minimized or ideally eliminated by every single person just taking ownership and responsibility of their own thoughtful leadership. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time. I just really want to see people be kind to each other, which sounds like a Hallmark card, but I really do. That, it's just, this smile never leaves me. People used to call me Smiley when I was in my 20s, and they used to make jokes. And I'm sorry, I'm just Smiley, and I wish everyone else were,
And I love that. I think kindness is an underplayed strength, and I think when we can treat people with kindness and compassion for what they're going through, because we don't know what our people are going through, not unless we ask them, not unless we seek to understand. And I think it was Morgan Freeman that said, wasn't it, how do we change the world? One small random act of kindness at a time. So I think we should have more kindness in leadership. But what do you think are the barriers for leaders? Why is it that they find it so hard to treat people with that kindness and have the courage to be vulnerable?
It's several things, Kim Adele, thank you. I think the first one is, and I was partly at fault for being part of this profile industry, the expert industry. I can't really call it anything else. There's a pressure to make sure everybody knows how great you are. We were just talking about this in the BIP 100 this morning. And that creates a feeling that, I have to show up in this way. And therefore, I cannot let that mask go, or, let my real self through at work. And if it's a leader, the higher they go, they feel the further they have to fall. It's not true, but they feel that way. I guess it is true then. And the other issue is that we really don't prioritize this. We prioritize being bold, and this is why I say I take responsibility for, you know, creating 24 karat bold and get your opinions out there. But unfortunately, people missed the part of my book where I said be bold and opinionated, yet respectful. And you see stuff online and it's missing that just basic decency and respect. Why that is, I don't know. That's the macro problem that, you know, I'm looking at and, you know, hoping to solve. But, you know, I don't know if anyone else has any clues why people don't always exhibit so much respect for each other. Tell me.
Caroline, I'll come to you next because I think you've got a question to ask, but I did want to just find out, because there are a lot of people, the pandemic must have brought out some trends for you. I mean, how many books is it you have now published? It's 1,000, isn't it? Books you have.
We've lost count. So we've had well over 1,200 people go through private coaching and group coaching programs, and then there's at least 1,000 in print. But many people don't even tell me until years later. Oh yes, I published my book. I've published nearly 500 at Panoma. So yeah,
it's such an amazing thing to do. And so, what are you noticing are some current trends in the publishing world?
Well, the thing is, it's very easy to publish, which is a great thing, and it's a dangerous thing, because just because you can push a button doesn't mean you should. Just because you can rush a book out doesn't mean you should. And I think, you know, people get so excited, not just about books. I mean, look at all these other things that people slap together and whack out there, and you know, and you think, oh my goodness, couldn't you even get someone to spell check your website? You know, but the book, I mean, the book is a sacred part of you that goes out into the world. Why wouldn't you treat it with the utmost respect and really do it all properly? But again, it's just our society that how fast can I do it, and this kind of instant guru stuff. And so I just try not to worry about all of that. I mean, at my companies, we attract the thoughtful leaders or the people who are open to it. So they're seduced by all of this, you know, instant fame, but deep down, they would rather produce something of substance and bring their best self into the world through a great thought leading book. So that's the kind of thing we've just kept doing, what we've always been doing. But now I think it's actually easier because there's a whole proliferation of, you know, sausage factory type expert book people and, you know, giving some really dubious advice. And then there's us. And the right people come to us. And, you know, we had 53 people go through the program last year from March 30th until now. And next Tuesday, we have our 8th program, and it's on March 30th. And I'm very emotional about the past year because nobody saw it coming. And yet I got my head down and I got my team around me and I said, hey, listen, you know, we can't furlough people because they're freelance mostly. I said, but let's just talk about what could happen. In the end, it didn't do that. It went crazy and everybody got a bonus at Christmas, and, you know, but we didn't know back in March what was going to happen. So I think it's about being open, and we had those chats, and in the weekly team meetings, you know, every week we added, you know, as much time as was needed. One time we took half the meeting with how are you really doing? I mean, we never did that before. So that's something good that came out of it.
You're really talking my language, Mindy, when you were saying about you need a level of excellence when you're publishing a book. Just like people can do a one-day life coaching course and think they can be life coach. That's true though, and think they can change their lives. So there has to be a line in the sand where, you know, it's self-publishing any old pamphlet, or really thinking about a proper book that you, as you say, honor and respect and want to get out there, and it's a piece of excellence that represents you. And I really applaud you for that. And as you say, everyone's an author these days, but it's like everyone can also be a life coach, but there are levels of excellence that you are presenting to people there and showing them how it really should be done, which I think is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I can't believe it. It's already 6 minutes left of the show. And I'm trying to think of sort of my last big question that I would like to ask you about this. So What are the biggest challenges these days then in the publishing world, do you think? Because I think you mentioned, I'll just sort of explain why I'm saying that. You mentioned that it's so easy to get a book out, and people do it themselves and they self-publish. And what's the biggest challenges you see in the industry?
So this is very raw, because a prospective client emailed me last week and he was so excited, and we set up a call, and it transpired that he'd already pushed the button and it was listed on Amazon. I said, so you've published already? And he said, no, not really. I said, well, you have. And it's very, very difficult for so many reasons to get that book republished, if we were even willing. We're having a discussion, but he said, oh yeah, it's up there, but I've already changed the title, and I've already, you can't control what Amazon does. And if you put something up and it's riddled with typos or other errors, I mean, I always see dozens of problems with books where people don't get enough help. Sometimes, they won't take that listing down. You're stuck with it. And I really would beg people to seek out help before they publish, before they even write the book, and before they even plan and outline it. And that's why the book midwife methodology exists. So, that was hard last week. Really great book that I was so excited about publishing. And I thought, I don't even know if we can, we'd have to jump through all these hoops to get it, rebranded and read this and read that. Yeah, that's our biggest challenge, is people who don't understand. We call it being over-empowered and overconfident, and so they do DIY on things that they shouldn't. I'm sure you've seen this in lots of people. Like you wouldn't try to extract your own tooth, I hope. Why would you write your own book without any help and publish it without any help? And so that's
what would be your biggest tip then, Mindy, for people that are thinking that they've got a book in them? Because the saying goes, doesn't it, that everyone's got a book in them. So people that are thinking publishing or self-publishing, or what would be your biggest tip before they go down that road, or any road?
Thank you. Just seek out help before you do anything. Don't try to do the outline or come up with your title or research publishers, or that can all come later. But I'm always happy to have a chat. My downfall is I tend to do 11 to 13 chats a day. But I want to talk to everybody. I just want to head them off at the pass before they make mistakes. Seek out help. Talk to someone, me or somebody, and get help as early as possible when it's still an ideas stage.
Yeah, good advice. And I mean, that is exactly what I did with my book, and it made a phenomenal difference. And also how, if the right person emotionally holds you through the process, that, I think it can be underestimated. And this, Caroline's a big writer. She's a journalist and writes columns and things. These can be really, you can get some imposter type feelings, and you can start worrying about, has other people said this? And there's also things going up in your head. And I do agree with you. I think you need a coach by your side to help you through that. Love that conversation. I hope we have inspired somebody here to think about writing the book, especially if they're a thoughtful leader. So we're coming to the close now. This is going to have to be a real fast section. And we always like to finish the show with something that sort of sends anybody off with a few tips, a few enlightened thoughts. Sam, have you got anything you would like to say to anyone for the week ahead? Would you like to come forth? Your mic as well. You're doing a me.
Yes, sorry. I'm going to follow up from what Mindy said, and that is to, enrich with other people's wisdom and experience, and don't feel like you've got to do this on your own, because we don't know what we don't know. And it's important to remember that we can't possibly know everything. Somebody can help us through any challenge or any new opportunity. So get the right.
Love that. And Kim Adele?
I agree. I think make sure you seek help. I think the other one for me is to be thoughtful, to give yourself a time in the week to think about what it is you want to achieve, and to think about what it is you have achieved. Because I think we're often so busy running ahead that we forget to see how far we've come.
I love that. I love that. Something of what you said earlier, Caroline. What would you like to finish with?
Following off what Mindy said about taking personal responsibility, I think asking people, I ask a lot of my clients, what are you currently not taking responsibility for? And that's the bit you need to really be looking at.
Yeah, that's lovely. And Mindy, have you got anything you would like to say to anyone as they move? One thing I would like you to say is, I know you said you've got your next program, and I know we don't generally pitch, but there will be somebody thinking, how do I take action here? What's that all about on next week?
We do have one starting on Tuesday, and if somebody can make a quick decision, it's 12 weeks to finished manuscript guaranteed. If that's too short notice, we have more. There's one coming up in June, just get in touch, come and have a chat. And that's my tip as well. Have a chat, no strings attached, no selling, let's just chat and explore. And, I don't like selling, so you won't get any of that from me.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say that as well. I think all that we do online should lead to a conversation. So I'm going to finish that. Have more conversations. It is so enriching. So I'm going to pass over to Kim Adele, who's going to finish off the show for us. And thank you very much from me to Mindy for being such a wonderful guest.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah, Mindy, it's been an absolute delight. And if you would like to join us and take Mindy's seat, then please do get in touch at www.businessblondes.tv. And I can't believe we're out of time. So wishing you all a really, really lovely week. And let's go out there and sprinkle some kindness. Take care.